Keegan Evans, and this is Bet on People, where we explore the decisions behind human-centered leadership and why betting on people isn't just good for people, it's smart business. My guest today is Barrett Young, a marketing partner at GWCPA, an 80-year-old firm he's transforming for the future. He hosts the Art of Succession podcast, where he talks to leaders about stepping into ownership, and he's making some of the hardest decisions of his career, choices that have cost him team members, cost him clients, and that he believes are necessary for survival. Barrett, it's great to have you on. Tell me a little bit more about yourself, your background, and why you're doing all this.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, Keegan. So I've been in public accounting as a CPA for, this will be my 20th tax season, actually. Actually got out of the Marines in 2006, and so we have that in common.
Absolutely.
Went straight into public accounting, did a short stint leaving tax, and ran my own accounting company for about 5.5 years. Then came back to this firm to join up with a mentor of mine and help her transform our firm for the future, as you described. That was about 8 years ago, coming up on 9 years ago at this point. I'm in Maryland, south of DC. I've been married for 21 years, and I've got 2 teenagers that are getting up there in age, making me feel older too. But yeah, I absolutely love public accounting. We've got a team of about 13 to 14 people within the firm right now that my partner and I lead. And I love my career. I love the proximity that it brings me to business owners and the decisions that they're making. And we're going to talk about it on this show. Yeah, the tough decisions that have to be made as a business owner.
What drives you? You talked a little bit about you love connecting with people, business owners, and their careers. Is there an even more distilled value or thing that drives you around that?
I love entrepreneurship. I love the effect that business owners that we have to see a problem in the world and solve it, and then make the world better because of what we do, especially working with smaller businesses. Small business in the world is like under $100 million revenue.
Right.
So we're more in the micro business, really 5 to 30 million in revenue are our target clients, which, having started my own company, it's like, that's big business. What are you talking about? But no, that is what it is. It's you're a small business. You're tightly involved with your team when you're at those smaller sizes, under 100, under 200 people, in some cases 10 or 20. But it's like you've seen the direct impact of the decisions you're making, of the products that you're bringing to the world. Every team member that you add changes the culture of your company. Every team member that you lose changes the culture of your company. And I just love being a part of that. Like, I can solve something with financial knowledge that is confusing to a lot of business owners and a lot of entrepreneurs. They know how to make money. They just don't know if they actually are, and they don't know how to keep more of it so that they can make better decisions for their business as well.
Yeah. As a micro business owner with aspirations towards small business owner, and on the definitions, I deeply appreciate that kind of a support, and that finding that person to provide that kind of perspective is crucial. I'd love to know a little bit about your leadership philosophy, especially we share the Marine roots in common. And one of the things I find so valuable about my Marine Corps Foundation is anyone in leadership it doesn't matter what position you're in. And like, everyone has leadership experience in what we have to do there. And that is echoed downstream for the rest of my life. What is kind of the through line of your leadership philosophy and approach?
I think it's shifted a little bit towards my team more than my customers. So when I started my company, obviously what the customer wants is like the driving focus. That's where sales comes from, right? Identify their problems, solve it for them. Now that I've got a larger team, I have to step back from solving problems for my customers and really focus on taking care of my team. I think that's where my philosophy is right now. If I take care of my team, they are freed up. They don't have to worry about, their status. They don't have to worry about, CYA like we always did in the Marines, and they can focus on the mission. And I think that, that is one of the the lessons that the Marine Corps taught me. Like you said, leadership happens at every level, and every level you have somebody that you should be taking care of so
Yeah.
that they can focus on their job. Um, and I think that's my ultimate through line on that.
Love it.
Um, I think one of the other things the Marine Corps does really well and has just been ingrained in me is my job as the leader is to do the things that I can do that
Hmm.
without passing the buck down, like
Mm. Yep.
shielding them from the hard decisions, shielding them from the things that don't cause them to grow. I don't know where you're at with your new podcast, but crap doesn't roll downhill.
Oh yeah, we're fine.
You're fine with that. Okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, your job as an NCO in the Marine Corps is to keep the officers away from the enlisted and to bridge that gap between it. And I kind of feel like that as a business owner. My job as a business owner is to make sure the right customers get in the door and the wrong ones exit the door. And then
Mm.
it's the same with the team. Like, it's
Yeah.
my job to say, this is who our team is, this is what our company stands for, and protect that. Rather than getting into micromanaging, into the nitpicking, so that my team doesn't have to worry about, oh no, am I going to screw something so badly up that the customer leaves? Like,
Yeah.
I have accountability for that. That's my job, is to make sure nothing goes out the door that my name's not, proudly on, and
Yeah.
to keep, one of the earliest things that I did when I came onto this company is I stopped customers from yelling at my team members. Like, that is the easiest way out the door for me and my company. You don't get to treat
Wow.
my team members like they're idiots, because if you do that, you're really saying that I'm an idiot as a business owner for hiring
Mm.
idiots.
Hmm.
And so you don't get to correct my team members. You don't get to yell at them. If they screw things up, I will deal with it. I will take care of it. But
Hmm.
that is not your role to do that. And that's very different from the firms that I grew up in, where it was very
Sure.
much the partner would side with the customer and
Yep.
yell at the staff accountant, why are you such an idiot? Why did you screw that up so badly?
Yeah.
So,
So you're not rolling in the therapist vertical into the accountant. Uh,
oh, there's so much
Easily.
therapy here. There is so much therapy. It's very much a therapy job
Yep.
with the client, with the team member, but it is a boundaries thing too, and it
Perfect.
is making sure they understand. You paid us to do this job. You did not pay us so that you could beat us up and make
Yep.
everything urgent because you forgot about it for 2 weeks until it was
Yeah.
actually due.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, you mentioned something in there about the leadership philosophy being shielding or taking accountability for the really hard decisions. And I couldn't ask for a better segue into our
Mhm.
into the meat of our show here. So we're going to talk about 3 decisions that you've thought about, reflected on, and that have been important and influential in your life and professional career. And the first one up is I'd love to hear what's the example of that decision where there was a little bit of deprioritizing people, where there was I've got to put the business first and the people second. Give us a little bit of the context of it, kind of how you walk us through how you processed it, how you came to the decision you did, and we'll talk about the outcomes.
Yeah. We're still in the middle of this one, I'll admit it. So,
Yeah.
accounting, tax preparation is in trouble. If we
Yeah.
continue doing things the way that we've always done them, AI is going to eat our lunch. Outsourcing overseas, even software platforms like Intuit, TurboTax,
Yeah.
QuickBooks, they are all trying to make us non-existent. If we continue always doing the work that we've always been paid to do, file tax returns for as cheap and fast as possible. So that's been a profitable model for our 80 years. And each partner in a traditional CPA firm model, each partner has the clients that they work on. They have the manager that they work with and the staff that works with that manager. And it's very siloed. I've been in companies that felt like it was 5 or 6 companies under one roof with a common name, but 5 or 6 different, methods of delivery, approaches,
Mm.
interests, services being provided. So my partner and I do not like that model. We didn't enjoy being in that model when we were team members, and we don't
Hmm.
think that model serves the future of our profession. And so deprioritizing the people, we've had team members leave because they liked the old model. We've had partners that we've had to escort out and have retire earlier than they might have wanted to. And we've had clients leave that like the old model of, you guys used to do 2-week turnaround. You guys used to always pick up the phone every time that I would call. You guys used to be a lot cheaper. What happened?
Hmm.
And we're making decisions that for the good of the company, for the good of the profession, this is what we see is out there, and we need to be proactive and make short-term painful decisions that affect our bottom line to
Hmm.
reinvest into the long-term future of the company. So that's the first thing that I would think of when
Yeah.
I was prepping for this show.
What are some of the things that and I love this example because the original premise of the question was, hey, we earlier on in your career, where was something where you're like, oh, I got to make the business decision and I'm going to just cut people, like
Mm,
pure bottom line thinking. I love the nuance you brought to this because it's not it is more, it is a bottom line thinking. There are some impacts to people in ways that may not that you may not love or feel comfortable with, but it is very much in the service of recognizing not just your business but the entire industry.
mm.
Is making this huge shift. What are some what's a without giving away trade secrets, of course, are there pieces of the long term vision? Like what is important about the long term vision in more specificity? That's a first principle for these decisions.
it it is shifting more towards what our clients are actually paying us for.
Hmm.
And there's a couple drivers on this. One, it's like I said, AI outsourcing, other people
Yeah.
doing the work for faster and cheaper.
Yep.
Our model for 100 years, the billable hour has been like the driving model of compensation,
Yeah.
in public accounting, in legal
Yep.
services, in a lot of professional services. And when a tax return takes you 20 hours, I mean, people always like freak out when I say that, but 20 hours to prep a tax return is not a long one. Like,
Yep.
I've had tax returns that have taken me 20 hours to review the tax return.
Yep.
When that was the model, the compensation model tied well to it and made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But when AI is cutting that down from 20 hours to 20 minutes, and then, as soon as AI actually starts prepping the tax return, that model's not going to exist anymore
Yeah.
unless we raise our fees to, I'm now $10,000 an hour for a billable
Right.
rate. It's not going to make sense in the future. So that's one of the things driving that decision. Billable hours also just means you need to do more of them. If you're not
Yep.
profitable, you need to work more of them. And so that has a cultural impact on our team right
Yeah.
now. Being tax season, people feel
Hmm.
that. And we used to have minimums for how many hours were required in tax season.
Hmm.
We'll get into it in the next question, but we now
Sure.
have maximum, because it's harder for me to replace team members than it is for me to replace clients, replace customers right now.
Mm.
So those are some of the things that I think the industry is shifting. And I think, it's our job to educate our clients and say, are you really paying me because this takes me 45 minutes to do? Or are you paying me because this would take you 5 hours to do? Are
Hmm.
you paying me because understanding your tax situation lets you know how much you've paid in to keep the government happy, but it also frees up so you don't have to pay more in so that you can make decisions on hiring or moving
Yep.
into new industries.
Yep.
Is it effective to establish this service line and promote this new product, this new service that we're doing? Is it making money there?
Yeah.
So that's really the value that isn't going anywhere, I think, in an AI world,
Yep.
because business owners still want to know, am I making the right decisions? And the data supports that. Um, and so we need to proactively move in that direction.
Yeah. How did you mentioned some people have left the company, some people have been helped out. uh, what what was the process of working to get buy-in, figuring out where that wasn't going to happen, figuring out what that was going to look like? Uh, and
Mm.
and and was there a line kind of sooner in this particular case of get on board or not, than you might in others?
My partner Samantha, she's been here for her entire career. So she started here right out of school. And she grew up in this firm and had to
Hmm.
prove herself in this firm.
Hmm.
And so her model was always, I'm going to do it this way with my clients. Like I said, we used
Sure.
to be, five or six companies under one roof. So
Yeah.
I'm going to prove that it works with my clients before making every
Yeah.
client move in that direction. Um, Eventually, some other partners, I came in 9 years ago. I took over a retiring partner's client list and was on board with her, moving my clients in that direction. Other
Hmm.
times, partners would say, "Okay, I see that makes sense. From a, it saves me effort, so I'm going to do that with my clients as well." Eventually, it just got to the point where we would have to tell the partners that weren't doing it this way, you are
Hmm.
adding stress and strain to our team who
Mm.
want to be able to treat all of our processes the same, who want to be able to work on all clients from anywhere rather than just mine and
Yep.
have to come into the office to work on yours. So there was a little bit of proving and then a little bit of social or cultural pressure. And then
Yeah.
eventually it was just like, no, this is the hard line in the sand that we're drawing. And
Yep.
all clients are going to be this way. And we're going to, introduce the good clients to peers that'll still service them the way that they're used to.
Uh-huh.
The ones that are not A or B clients will just be like, we're not preparing your tax return anymore. Please find
Sure.
a preparer before next year. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of everything there, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not just like we can't just come in and say, this is the way it's going to be on
Hmm.
everything and, deal with it.
Yeah.
We have to pick our battles on some of those things.
Something that jumped out to me in that last part there as well was the break point for in-house, whether people were on board or not, was your decision not to get on board is affecting the rest of the team, and
Mhm.
which it destroys the premise of this first question. But I like it as a really great example of you're prioritizing the people who you feel an obligation and recognizes the responsibility for the future. And so that's I thank you for sharing that piece.
Mhm.
I'm also going to use that as the nice segue into all right. Well, what's an example of where you explicitly you came into it knowing that people based was going to be good business.
Hmm. Yeah, this one we're also in the middle of a shift. This is our second tax season doing it this way, but the one
Hmm.
that I was thinking about is last year we made the decision that we are extending all clients before the
Yep.
tax season even begins. So this is definitely a shift for us. It used to be work as hard as possible between February to April 14th in some cases to get as
Yeah.
many done as possible and then drop everything at the last minute and extend the remainder of them and apologize for it. And
Hmm.
then once they're all extended, try to get them done as quick as possible, um, you know, between April 15th and May 31st or something
Yeah.
like that.
And just for our listeners who throw their tax documents over to an accountant or into TurboTax, remind us what the extend means.
Sure. Yeah. So an extension means that you have an additional 6 months to file your tax return. So extensions are due. If you can't file by April 15th, you should file an extension. That will
Hmm.
reduce the late filing penalty.
Hmm.
But there is still, you should be overpaid or paid in enough. Otherwise, there could be some late payment penalty or interest if not paid in by April 15th.
Okay, great.
Um, a lot of people are afraid of extensions. I will
Hmm.
say that we're still fighting that. Back in the 70s and 80s, there was this perception that if you can't file your tax return on time, it's because you're shady and you're making stuff up. Tax code I don't think the tax deadline has moved except for COVID in
Okay.
something like 40 or 50 years. So it's even as investment um, income gets more complicated, even as
Hmm.
pass through businesses where you are waiting on the business to be filed before you can do your personal. All of these things have put no pressure on the April 15th deadline.
Mm.
And so with the majority of our clients, it's like, if you could get your business and your personal done by April 15th, I would be more concerned about that, because how thorough is the actual preparation of the tax return. And I will say, for your audience, we're not dealing with W-2 employees at this point.
Right.
We have stopped taking on that type of business. We work with larger entities that have multiple businesses, family
Okay.
groups,
Yep.
especially in
Hmm.
what we specialize in succession planning. Um, and so, but there was still an expectation, even with those more complicated tax returns, that as soon as the stuff comes in the door, we're going to have a 2-week turnaround on it and get it done. And that's
Yeah.
just not realistic to our team. It's not realistic to our clients as business owners, because it puts all the pressure on tax season actually matters.
Yeah.
When we have a long year-round relationship with our clients rather than once a year, you should know where you stand with your estimates, with your tax projections throughout the year, so that April 15th just comes and goes.
Hmm.
If you do have an overpayment, I always joke with newer business owners, I'm like, you don't get refunds anymore. I'm sorry. It just gets rolled forward to next year, and it cuts down on the estimates you have to pay next year. But that should be the reality of it. You should be making decisions that make your business strong, make your business healthy, and
Yep.
not worrying about, oh, it's the deadline. It's like,
Yeah.
you should be focused on first quarter goals or second quarter goals, not, I need to get this piece done by this date. Um,
Yeah.
and so we've had to slow that down. We have, I left tax season after 6 years and went out on my own and didn't do taxes for 5 years because of the hours, because of the burnout.
Hmm.
We've lost people that should have continued in the profession. I mean, our profession has a pipeline that's college to big four accounting companies, accounting firms, where
Hmm.
they'll burn you out 80 hours a week minimum.
Hmm.
And if you can survive that, you do that for 3 years, you've got it on your resume. Most people get out of the profession entirely.
Yeah.
A lot of people will go to private accounting industry, go
Yeah.
be a controller for somebody in an accounting department.
Yeah.
And then a lot of us will just go find a small firm with a more sustainable pace out in the
Yeah.
suburbs or something like that. But we don't want to do that to our team anymore. So we made that tough decision to prioritize their health over the feedback that we immediately started getting from customers.
Yeah. Well, with that kind of a pipeline, it completely backs up the headlines I see every so often about the just drawdown in number of accountants, and also how hard it was for me to find an accountant at times.
And there's another piece of that too. And I will
Yeah.
say, I've been in the profession for 20 years. So I've seen times when it's easy to find clients and times when it's difficult to find clients too.
Hmm.
Our profession is aging out. And so
Mm,
I think 60 something percent of the profession are baby boomers within 5 to 10 years of retirement. A lot of
I
them
see.
would have retired a lot sooner. And generationally, millennials are just barely reaching baby boomer size. X was much smaller
Mm,
than both of those generations, but there's just not a pipeline of people filling in all of those
hmm.
jobs left by that retiring demographic. And so we are in a place right now where it's like there's more work than there are people. And that's good for customer selection, but that also
Hmm.
means you do have to prioritize the people that you can retain,
Yep. Yeah.
because you're going to have more work than capacity.
Was there a moment, or yeah, was there a kind of a moment of change where there was an insight of, hey, this, we don't want to do it this way anymore, or we have to figure out something different.
It was always something we wanted to do.
Hmm.
We started encouraging our team to not stress about the work, about the overtime, but last year was the first year we ever capped overtime. And so
Okay.
it used to be a minimum. 55 hours was the minimum. And if you only did 55 hours, where do you really see
Yeah.
your future here in this company? Like,
Sure.
I think of like Office Space, the scene in, the TGI Fridays restaurant. It's like,
Yeah.
7 pieces of flair is like the minimum, but you should have like 20 something.
Yep.
Look at Brian with all his flair. And it's like, if you wanted the minimum to be 20, you should have just said 20. So that's the way ours always used to be.
Yep.
Um, Last year we capped it. And so we said no more than 50. And honestly, we
Oh,
had to do
wow.
that for our managers who've been
Mhm.
doing this for
Yeah,
15, 20, 25 years because they're so used to shutting down their lives and just working. It was
yeah,
like, the joke was always with my kids when they were younger. I'm like, I'll see you in May.
yeah,
Dad's gone and I got to get
yeah.
this done. And this is just the life. A lot of my peers had parents who were in public accounting and they're just like, I never saw dad after
Yeah,
Christmas. So,
yeah.
so last year we had to cap it and we just like, if you work more than 50 hours, we're not paying you. And that got people to stop. But that was really we have 6 months. We've
Yep,
built this in now and we've sold it. We've, started early talking about it with our biggest clients so that they understood what we're doing, why also. And they're business owners and they have teams that they care about too.
yeah.
And so that also was really a defining moment for us. You talked about like those moments. That was a defining moment for us of which customers are actually worth keeping as well, because they want us to take care of our teams because they see us as more than just a service provider. That it's like, well, I paid you money, jump through hoops to get it done. They're like, you're a valued advisor. And I would
Yeah.
hope that you run your company in a way that reflects how I want to run my company.
You just talked about the good feeling and recognition of retaining clients that are values aligned in this and want to have that. Um, did you see? Have you seen a measurable positive business impact of this? How are you measuring success out of that?
Yeah, I think we are. For one thing, when you start to, so we did define our core values 3 years ago. We went through a rebranding when my partner Samantha became managing partner. That was a big triggering point, or
Yeah,
decisive point for us. Is she
yeah,
was in charge now? There wasn't anybody that could overrule our majority vote anymore. We went through a rebranding and we discovered what our core values were, and we started to release team members. We started to release clients based off of you've violated our core values of empathy, accountability, empowerment, and foresight. Those are
hmm,
our four for our company. So we
nice.
were able to point to that and say, empathy is a core value for us, or accountability is a core value for us. And we have asked you multiple times over months to get us the information, and you always
Yeah,
are waiting until the last minute. And so you need to go somewhere else because you're straining our team by delivering the information to us a week before the 6 month extension is up
yeah,
and expecting us to still get it done. It's going to be late, and then you're
yeah,
going to need to find somewhere else to go. Um, so that was what that does when you start to define and work with clients that release clients that don't match up with your values. That frees up a lot
hmm,
of capacity. And I think that's where the business impact comes from, is because now we have breathing room and we have space
yeah,
to be able to look at our clients and say, what else can we do for you that we used to not have enough time? Because it was like, I'm joking with the clients, I'll see you in May.
right.
I've got, 200 of these tax returns that I've got to review over the next 2 months. I would love to help you on your project right here, but can this wait until our off season? And
Hmm,
that's rough to be in
yeah,
when you're saying I'm a trusted advisor, but you're also saying, but I have to stop paying attention to you for 4 or 5 months out of the year so I can shift my focus over here for
yep,
these smaller clients. So it
yeah,
freed up capacity, from the human perspective. Um, we've had clients who've, had spouses or parents pass away in February and March. I think
hmm,
last year was the first time I was ever able to go to clients' funerals during
wow,
tax season. Um, Not that I wouldn't have before, but you always
right.
had reasons not to. And, last year,
Yeah,
one of our clients' mother passed away, who was also a longtime client. It was like not even a
wow,
question. I think we
yeah,
had 3 or 4 people from our firm at that funeral during the week.
wow,
Because, and then being able to have that client and his brother come into the office and talk with them about estate planning needs
yeah,
for like 4 hours in the middle of February when we used to be so slammed that I couldn't take 4 hours to have a conversation with anybody.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so that's made better business decisions. That has, you know, proven that we're on the right track here is higher trust, higher level of service for the
Yeah.
clients that we need to prioritize.
Yeah. Which directly feeds back into the first topic of conversation around where is the value of where your company and where your industry is going to be going, and how do you provide that more value? And so by prioritizing and creating that space for the people, you're really doing that for your clients, and that cascades to repeat and expand a business individually. It cascades to referrals, it cascades to all sorts of things. Thank you. I want to move on to our third one, which is the what's a favorite decision story around people dynamics that you like to tell?
So this one's a little hard. It's a favorite because it's an example of the perils
Mm,
of not pushing deeper into these relationships with our clients. So
mhm,
one of the first, I came in here 9 years ago. It took about 2 years to retire the partner whose client list I ended up taking over.
mhm,
And one of the first companies that I worked with, it was a company that had been around for 40, 45 years. And
mhm.
they built a component of schools. Like that was that they were
Oh, sure.
masons. And it was these two older guys in their late 60s, early 70s.
Mhm.
And I worked with them for a couple of years, and it was based off the tax returns. And we'd try to get financial meetings, and it was like pulling teeth to get one of the one that was out in the field to come to these meetings.
Sure.
The admin guy, he loved them. Um, but it would just be around, the tax return or,
Yeah.
not really asking questions of like, what's next for you? So I
Mhm.
share this one because unfortunately that company, after trying to find buyer, trying to find somebody inside the company for a couple of years, one of the guys, his son even worked in the business, and still the decision was he didn't want to take it over.
Mhm.
And the sales cycle was so long. The contracts that they were working on were such old relationships that there was no like real new business coming in. There was
Sure.
no sales pipeline that was strong and healthy.
Yeah.
That business closed after 45 years in existence, and it always provided a good living for the two business owners,
Mhm.
but it wasn't attractive to anybody else, and so they ended up selling all the equipment for like yard sale
Mm.
rates, liquidation value.
Yeah.
That one stuck with me because that was like my first indicator that it's not enough to run a profitable business
Mm.
if you don't if you can't walk away from that business and have something of value there that somebody else would buy.
Mhm.
You've effectively been self-employed for your
Mhm.
entire life. You've owned your own job, but that there's a hole now in the community from where that business was.
Mm.
There's schools that are not going to be built as efficiently or as effectively as their model had it built because they
Yeah.
didn't invest into building something there that lives on beyond them. So when we did our core values shift 3 years ago, the one thing my partner and I could come to agreement on when we were like, who's our target market? We all had all these industries that we like working with, but we decided, being an 80-year-old CPA firm, our target market is not a who, it's a when. And so we really said, I feel like we've had clients that have been clients of ours for 40, 50, 60 years. They're into their second and third generation. Like
Mhm.
that's special knowledge that I couldn't fake tomorrow by going out and starting a new accounting company.
Yeah.
That's our differentiator. That's our value in the marketplace. Not just transfer the business, but transfer an engine of the economy that continues to produce income, that the kid or the employee is not taking over because of guilt or because of family pressure, but
Right.
is gladly taking over because this is a business that runs well
Yeah.
and, has a sales pipeline. It has a leadership team. It can continue on even though dad, who had such a strong personality, is now retired. It
Mhm.
continues on after. So that is a story I love to tell. It's a warning
Yeah.
sign, but for me,
Yeah.
it was like, we have got to push past the tax return and the tax deadlines because every entrepreneur starts this thing and it's about more than money. It's about legacy. It's about providing
Yeah.
for my family, my future, grandkids, great grandkids, all of that. and the community, my team, everything that I care about. And
Yeah.
then to just see it close down or get sold for pennies on the dollar to private equity
Hmm.
because I never stopped from doing the day-to-day work to make those big decisions on the structure, the business operation outside of myself. Um,
Yeah.
so that's one that I love to share, and it resonates deeply with me, because that's why we do what we do, so that this business won't be a burden on the next generation or in that next employee that takes it over. They will
Hmm.
gladly walk into it and be excited how they can build on that foundation.
We call this podcast Bet on People. And I talked a little bit about the kind of the premise of like, hey, where's a real learning example? Where's a proud of your example? And then the favorite story. And something that I love that you did by bringing in these three examples is create a through line, not in line with the whiplash of perhaps the initial premise, but you captured the different categories of people that are important to you in business outcomes. In the first one, it's your team. It's the team that's going to be on board, but it's also the broader people of the accounting profession, and in large scale moments of change, in really reflecting what is important about this to as these professionals and for our clients. And in the second example, you really focused on in the service of that business, our team is how do we create the space for them to be the most uh, bring the most value, bring the most of them of their purpose to our clients. And what I really like about the third example is it ties it together and expands it to, and it's not necessarily a responsibility and an obligation, but a consideration of the place in the community and the place in family and the original why of any entrepreneur or leader that extends beyond just the purely commercial. What's going to outlive you? What
Mm.
Why do you want to make a mark more than just a comfortable life? And there's plenty of people I'm sure who maybe they don't need to worry about or think that, but in terms of really impactful and successful businesses and organizations, having that longer consideration beyond just self is really powerful. And so, thank you for sharing all of that. Also, I think with that as one of your most powerful motivating stories, it's no secret really why you created a podcast about succession. Uh,
Yeah, that became clear to me. I wanted to do another podcast. I wanted to do an interview podcast. And once I figured out that target market, I'm like, okay, there's the stories that I get to tell, because business is about more than money, as your
mhm.
podcast, knows. And it's even about more than the people, because the people are going to come and go. And I've
Mhm.
had great clients who become not great clients. I've had not
Sure.
great clients who become great clients. I've had team members that, you know, left because we no longer allied with their vision, and they were
Yeah.
great team members while they were here. It's like the impact of the organization on the community is also going to shift, but you should have a purpose there. You should have a clear distinction and a direction. This is where we're going, because it's again about those boundaries that I talked about, your job as the business owner.
Yeah.
I tell my team, it's like my job as the captain or co-captain of this ship is not to do all of the sailing of the ship,
Mhm.
but it's to say we're going in this direction. And then you can decide, do you want to get on that ship or not? And too many business owners, at this firm and in a lot of businesses, they're just like, it's hard. You're trying to keep your
Yeah.
head above water and then,
Yeah.
the daily basis. But it's like, where are we going? Like,
Yeah.
what is the purpose of what we're doing here? Is this just a tax season and we're going to do the same tax season again next year? And we save people a couple dollars on, it that for me, I was like, I don't know that I could do this for another 40 years. But once I saw the tax season, which is very seasonal and,
Absolutely.
necessary and, uh, part of business, once I saw that that has a larger impact and frees up those decisions that are, I can hire somebody because I saved money on my taxes this year, or I know that I made money, and that this is the right direction. Those
Yeah.
are like the longer term impacts of the regular cycle of accounting seasons.
Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. Any any other kind of insights as we've been talking? Anything jump out, reflect, surprise you?
Your questions leading into this thing, I was not expecting them, and I do want to thank you and Molly for the idea behind the podcast and the questions that you ask. It did cause me to stop and think because it can feel whipsawing, like you kind of shared there.
Yeah.
Of well, this is a decision you have to make regardless of people's feelings and how they're going to be
Hmm.
hurt. This
Hmm.
is a decision that you're going to make, and because of people's feelings that might get hurt. And that's the struggle that we run into as business owners all the time is I can't just make all the business decisions that benefit my team, because then it's like, well, who's the leader? Who's the
Yep.
one hurting the feelings? Who's the one drawing that line in the sand? And I
True.
can't just steamroll over everybody either, or else it's just going
Yeah.
to be a constant cycle of new people coming in the door, customers or employees. And we can never actually make any traction or gain any efficiency or make forward movement if we're always training new people how to do this.
Yeah.
And so every single decision you've got to decide, is this the hill worth dying on, in this particular case with these people that are on board with me,
Yep.
at this point in time in the direction we're going. And it's exhausting, but it's also like so much more satisfying
Yep.
than the money that
Yeah.
should be involved in it. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
You should
Yes.
be rewarded for this risk that you're taking. Um, but if it's just about the money, go be a highly compensated employee and
Yep.
sleep well over the weekend, knowing it's not your company, it's not your business. But for me, it's like it's no longer about that. It's about the people who are like, I'm in this profession because Barrett was a great boss and he really
Yeah.
inspired me to want to invest into this thing. And I love my time there, as short as it might be or as long as it might be.
That's awesome. All right. We like to wrap up with our lightning round questions.
Yep.
We're going for deep insights and emotional pulls, but we're also a media entity now, so we got to have some laughs. All right, quick answers as fast as possible. On previous podcasts, I've had to qualify lightning round with capacitated burst of energy, but we're going to try for lightning round with you. All right, what was your first job, Barrett?
My first official job working for somebody else was Hollywood Video as a
Nice,
teenager. And my
nice.
brother worked at the movie theater. I worked at Hollywood Video, so I'd be at the theater watching movies and then go home and watch more movies. And yeah, it was a great time as a kid.
That's awesome. What's one leadership skill that you wish you learned earlier?
I talk a big game about firing clients, and
Mm,
that's an easy decision for me in many cases.
hmm.
And that was unique to me. I mean, that was new to me. I
Yeah,
didn't see that modeled at my first firm. I had a
yeah.
peer, a mentor who really showed me that that's possible.
Hmm.
I wish I would have learned how to make the same decision with team members earlier.
Mm,
Um, that got me in trouble in my own company that I ran for five and a half years. I should have let somebody go sooner than I did
yeah,
because it was not healthy for me, for the business, for her.
yeah.
Um, and then even, 20 years in this, I've always deferred or let other people talk me into, yes, it's time for this person to go. And
Interesting.
that is a hard place to be in, but it
Yep.
is something I wish I could have come to terms with, because I like being liked. I'm just
Yeah.
like anybody else. And
Yeah.
that is a lot harder for me than letting money go, letting revenue
Yeah.
go by firing a client is letting someone go who you've invested years into and
Yeah.
didn't work out.
Yeah. I suspect that everything that I've seen getting to know you and talking to you and today, uh, it's not just a matter of years invested in people, but a recognition of people as people and a deep understanding of what it means to let someone go and what the impact it's going to have on their life and identity and emotions and how they have to deal with something and the stakes that are involved. And that heaviness makes it very, very, very hard. So thank you for sharing that one. Um, Conversely, what's the biggest myth about leadership that you think is out there?
Um, that leadership or that it's all about titles and it's all about
Mm.
acclaim and it's all about praise.
Sure.
It's about service. And, we both were taught this from a young
Yep.
age by our branch of the military, but
Yeah.
you are there to make other people's lives better, to make other people's jobs easier, to make it as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
Um, and if you start coming in there as a drill instructor and you're like, I'm a drill instructor and you better listen to me. It's like, there's a role that there is, you do salute officers,
Mhm.
but you know which officers you're saluting and meaning it and which ones you're just doing because of the
Sure.
title. And the
Yeah.
second an officer comes in and says, I'm a second lieutenant, you better listen to me. It's like lost. You've lost the point of leadership there. It's more
Absolutely.
like, I have these strengths, these capabilities. What can I do to make your job better? What can I do for you today?
Yeah. Having spent my last job on active duty was as a series commander. So I was the officer who the drill instructors reported to. That example that you just gave, because the perception, especially outside the military, but even in the military, the perception is that the drill instructor, the authoritarian, the shot, they can get away with anything. They can get away with treating people however they are, and that's just what they do. It's so much missing the point. The drill instructors perform that way, and actually I observed risk sacrificing so much of their humanity to behave that way in order to deliver an outcome for the recruits, transforming them into Marines, and doing so walking very fine lines of ethical and appropriate behavior. My role as a series commander, similarly, was not to be a drill instructor that the recruits have to salute, but my role was watching out for the drill instructors, helping make sure that they were taking care of themselves, or I was taking care of them where they needed to, because they were putting themselves through it. In that service, and the stacking chain of that servant leadership is fantastic.
I think the perception is, especially in the military, is, and don't get us wrong, if someone says something, you do comply, you do
Yeah,
listen to it because
yeah,
there's a mission reason why they're saying that. But that can't be your default go
no,
to.
no,
And I think that that's the difference. It's like we talked about, some decisions you have to make for the good of the organization, other ones you have to make for the detriment to the organization.
yeah,
It's knowing your leaders and knowing if they are pulling rank on me and if they are saying, listen to me on this one, it's because that's not their default mode and they don't walk around stomping around like that all the time. So you can
yeah,
trust them.
yeah.
It happens so rare. It's like, oh crap, this actually is something I'm not aware of in this case.
All right. What's the worst professional advice that you've ever received?
Oh man.
You don't have to quote who said it.
It's what the client wanted. I
Mm,
I don't know how to put that in. I don't know how to put that in an actual quote, but
yeah,
or, back to my conversation, the client never asked us to do that. Or it's
mm,
what the client asked for, it's what the client wanted. It's like that whole idea of the customer's always right.
yeah,
That, yes, they are paying us money and we should, we should serve them and we shouldn't lord it over them either.
yeah,
But they don't always know what's right. They don't know what's best for them in all cases. And in many cases, I would hope they're coming to me to pay for my context, my
yeah,
understanding, my opinion. And if we just give them what they want all the time, never will consider questions like, what do I want to do after I retire from this company? What
yeah,
do I want to do to make sure I'm not pulling all the money out of this business for 40 years and not reinvesting it into the life, the lifeblood of this business. So I think that that's just terrible business advice. It's not nuanced enough. As you can tell from this conversation, we like a little bit of nuance. And I think that one's just way too transactional.
I'm right there with you. everything I've learned in design thinking, customer driven innovation, and all the pieces reinforce exactly what you said. It's
I mean, it's Steve Jobs, that design thinking and Steve Jobs. And if the client, if we gave them what they wanted, we would have given
Yep.
them a faster buggy kind of
Yep.
thing, so.
All right, final home stretch. You've had the whole hour to think about this one since I dropped it on you in pre-show. Podcast or book, or on Molly's excellent suggestion, any media that you have as a recommendation that's not leadership or business related.
Mm, that is so hard for me. You guys did I didn't expect that to be the hardest lightning round when you guys shared them at the beginning. I don't read a lot just for fun.
Sure.
I do watch a lot of YouTube videos for fun. So the
Okay.
things that I've been getting into over the past 6 months or so, I'm converting my swimming pool into a pond.
Okay.
And there's a whole rabbit trail on YouTube you can go down into on that, converting it into a wildlife pond and
Oh wow.
bringing it back to, because my kids don't swim in it and it's a lot of chlorine I'm dumping into that thing otherwise. So
Yeah.
I'm watching a lot of YouTube on guitar playing all the time.
Nice.
Other media, how do I kick back? My daughter is going to be 18 next month, and we're going through Suits, the USA show about the
Sure.
high-powered attorneys in New York City. And it is business related, but it's also just fun and dramatic. And I just watched that show like I did when I first watched through it. And I'm like, man, I'm glad I don't live that life. I'm so glad that's not the high stakes world that I've ever served in my profession. So I'm a little bit of relief there.
Love it. Love it. All right. I'm gonna have you tell people where to find you, but first I'm gonna do another plug on your Art of Succession podcast. It's an excellent premise. It's an excellent set of stories, and also I'm selfish because I got to join you on it. And for anyone who has a little more curiosity in what Barrett referred to in the first segment around the direction that his industry is going, especially vis-a-vis intersecting with AI. We spend a lot of time talking about that, and that episode will have already been out by the time this one comes out. So go check out Art of Succession, wherever you get your podcasts. And Barrett, where else do you want people to find you?
Yeah, thanks for plugging that, Keegan. I'm glad it brought us together.
Absolutely.
That is my primary focus, is the Art of Succession podcast and our YouTube channel where it's hosted. I'm also on LinkedIn, and anybody that wants to reach out to me there, connect with me on LinkedIn. Don't immediately send me a DM because I will ignore most of them. But connect with me on there and then start interacting and asking questions. And I do write a weekly email that goes out to my mailing list that you can find on there as well, just talking about AI and how to use it to make you a better professional rather than replace what you do. So that's called Against the Grain. And I've been writing that for about a year, and I really enjoy that every Saturday morning.
That's fantastic. Barrett Young is the marketing partner at GWCPA, and you can find him at all the places we just talked about. The links will be in the show notes. And Barrett, thanks again for coming on for this. Really loved the path you took us on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Keegan.
I'm Keegan Evans, and this is Bet on People.